All right, guys, today is day 25. We're into our final unit of the semester. Today we're looking at lesson 72. We're going to get all the way through lesson 80, take the test for that, and then we'll be right at the end of the first semester. So lesson 72, the only one we have for today, we're looking at implied ratios. So implied ratios, we're looking down here at our new concept. Consider the following. If 12 math books weigh 40 pounds, how much would 30 math books weigh? And we know that hopefully you and the person next to you have the same book, they're going to weigh the same amount. Again, assuming that they're all the same weight, we can use that to figure out, well, if we know the weight of 40, we can use these ratios to figure out the weight of 30. So we're looking at 12 to 40. Okay, 12 books weighs 40 pounds. 30 books weighs how many pounds? That's what we want to figure out. So we're going to set it up in our ratios, our proportion. We're going to cross multiply and divide. We get 12 times P, 12P, 40 times 30, which is 1200. 12P equals 1200. Then we're going to divide both sides by 12, and P, or pounds in this case, is going to equal 100. If we look at example 1, if 5 pencils cost $1.20, how much would 12 pencils cost you as a ratio box? Another way you can go about solving these, which I don't want to confuse you, but we can find the cost per pencil. That's another thing we can do. We've seen problems in the past about, how much does this fruit or these peanuts cost per ounce? We've done some problems with that, and then we figure out the cost per ounce, and then we can use that to find other amounts and what price they would be. So that's one option. This is actually nice because we're just given 3 of the 4 that we want to know, and then we just cross multiply and divide. We've used that with our ratio problems and actual counts pretty much every lesson this semester, so we're pretty good at that. So if we're looking back at our problem, 5 pencils is $1.20. How much is 12 pencils? So 5 pencils, that's a P, sorry, is $1.20. And we want to know the cost of 12 pencils. So just like always, make sure that your numbers correspond. The pencils are in the same row. The dollar, the money amount, is in the same row. And we just set them up. 5 over 1.2 equals 12 over C. And then we cross multiply. I get 5C equals 12 times 1.2, which is 14.4. Then I divide, cross multiply and divide by 5. Oops. So I get C by itself. Sorry, that's 14.4, not 5. So 14.4 divided by 5 gives me $2.88. Okay, so that is the cost of 12 pencils. Again, look at the numbers. I don't know what I hit in my calculator. I got like 400 for my first. I must have punched something in wrong. So if you ever get a number that seems way too big or way too small, 12 pencils costing $2.88. Just in looking at it, we could go back and check our work, but that sounds reasonable based on the information that we were given. If we moved a decimal around, said, well, $28.80, that seems really high for just 12 pencils. You're right. Go back and check your work. Oh, I misplaced a decimal, or whatever the case may be. So always check your work, especially if you get to an answer and for whatever reason it's just not making sense. How is that my answer? It's probably a good instinct telling you you need to check your work. Another way we can look at this is we have problems like this. 6 is to 15 as 9 is to what number? It sounds confusing, but all we're saying is our ratio, or our fraction that we're going to set up, 6 to 15. Okay, well, 6 over 15 is to, 6 is to 15 as 9 is to what number? So the 6 and the 9 are going to be in the same row, the 15 and the X or the N or whatever you're using to figure out what number is going to be in the bottom row. And then we set them up, make sure they're aligned correctly, and we cross multiply and divide. So we get 6n equals 9 times 15. Then we divide by 6 and we end up with 22.5 or 22 and a half. All right, practice set we will go over together in class. This is the only lesson we have for today. So good job, and we'll see you for too long.